Our other big story today, two big hearings on Capitol Hill. We showed you, we mentioned Defense Secretary Ash Carter being grilled by members of the Senate Armed Services Committee about the U.S. fight against ISIS. Well, the FBI Director James Comey was also on Capitol Hill today, testifying before a different Senate committee, Senate Judiciary, talking about the San Bernardino investigation. I want to go now to a senator who serves on both of those Senate committees. Senator Mike Lee, Republican of Utah, joins us now. Senator Lee, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I know we're in the hearing earlier today with Ash Carter, the Defense Secretary. I want to play an exchange that you had with the Defense Secretary and then talk about that.
Mr. Secretary, can you explain to us how specifically we're vetting these groups, how we decide who ought to be the beneficiary of this program?
It is their leaders that are vetted rather than down to the individual level. General Sullivan, maybe you'd like to say something about the vetting process in general.
We have, in the case of the Syrian Arab Coalition, convinced leaders to come to the Iraqi side of the border. We have vetted them through public and classified databases.
So that was an exchange that you were having about groups that the U.S. is trying to equip on the ground. Satisfied with the Secretary of Defense's answers today?
Well, it was interesting. It was good to have the exchange. I still don't feel like I have a full plate of information on this issue. My concern all along, since this train and equip program started over 2 years ago, has been that we might provide equipment to people, in some cases lethal equipment, that could end up being used against us and against American interests. And I want to make sure that we're providing this equipment in such a way that guarantees it'll be used in a way that we like at the end of the day.
Secretary Carter also said the U.S. is building, in his words, momentum right now against ISIS. Do you agree?
In some respects, I think that's true. It is true that we have contained the amount of land that they've got. They're under control of less total land mass right now than they have been in the past. That said, they're moving forward. They're continuing to wreak havoc on the world. And they're continuing to make threats not only to the American people, but to people throughout Europe and elsewhere that continue to be of great concern to us. And we've got to step up our efforts to stop ISIS before they get to us, before they do more harm to us.
Were you able to hear Richard Engels reporting, sir, at the top of our hour? I'm not sure if you were plugged in yet.
No, I wasn't.
He was reporting about an investigation that he's done. He's going to have more of it on NBC Nightly News tonight, but showing how easy it is to buy an American passport, a legitimate U.S. passport in Greece. And he talked to a forfeiter who's in jail now for selling these doctored American passports. Raises big questions about, you know, whether people might be able to enter the country in that way. Do you have concerns about that?
Yes, absolutely. Look, as prevalent as forged and stolen documents or modified stolen documents are in the world today, we've got to be especially vigilant about who we're letting into the country, with the understanding that somebody who presents with a U.S. passport might actually be who they say they are. They might be intending to use that passport to come in and harm us. And so, yeah, that's yet another reason for us to be concerned.
I want to ask you about your Republican colleague, Donald Trump, and what he's been talking about. Yesterday, I know you're a member of the LDS Church in Utah. Yesterday, your church posted a statement from the church founder defending religious freedom for all faiths. A church spokesman said the statement reflects the Utah-based faith's position on the national conversation about protecting the rights of people to be here and worship as they choose. Do you agree with your church in terms of religious freedom and essentially opposing Donald Trump's proposition that we ban all Muslims?
Absolutely. As a lifelong member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I know what it means to be a religious minority. I know that my own people, my own ancestors, were subject to an extermination order issued in the 1930s by the governor of the state of Missouri. I don't want to return to those days. I don't want to return to a time when we imposed religious tests, when someone's ability to live here, to thrive here, to worship as they please here is dependent on what their religious beliefs are. And so, yeah, I stand wholeheartedly behind my church's statement.
And just lastly, can I ask you, it's such a busy day on Capitol Hill, sir, can I ask you about the other hearing with the FBI director? You're on that committee as well. At that hearing, we learned about San Bernardino and the investigation there, that the two shooters apparently were radicalized much earlier than we once thought. thought. Did you take anything out of Mr. Comey's conversation with you today?
Yes, I did. I enjoyed visiting with Mr. Comey. One of the things that I asked Mr. Comey about was a bill that I introduced, that I sponsored in the Senate, the USA Freedom Act. I clarified with him that this is not impaired, this is not impeded in any way our ability to protect ourselves against an attack like this or to follow up on it. This is something that we needed for a long time. It's something the Constitution requires. It's something I talk about at length in my book called Our Lost Constitution, in which I outline the connection between this bipartisan constitutional issue rooted in the Fourth Amendment and the need to eliminate the bulk metadata collection program under the Patriot Act, which we got rid of through the USA Freedom Act.
All right, Senator Mike Lee, thank you so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're keeping an eye on